Nestled on a quiet London street, the Owl Bookstore is a hidden sanctuary where time seems to stand still. There, you will be transported to the Renaissance era, surrounded by rich mahogany bookcases filled with classic literature. The walls are adorned with masterpieces by Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, while soft crystal chandeliers cast a warm, inviting glow over the entire store. I want to tell you a story of my journey to the Owl Bookstore. I began my so-called walk to the bookstore by receiving a package in the mail from a friend who lives far away. She told me not to open it until the Christmas season, which I happily obliged. With bated breath, I opened the book on Christmas morn. Squealing with delight, I showed my parents the adorable little bookstore. This would be my destination, my goal to make the little bookstore as adorable as the picture on the front. Though this is an unsponsored adventure, I am greatly appreciative to Annavirin, the maker of the cute diorama. According to their site, this is a beginner's journey perfect for one unacquainted with traveling to such miniature destinations as I am. I cleared my desk and prepared a spot for my journey's end. Here, I took my first steps, packing a suitcase to follow the metaphor, if you will, for the trek ahead. The itinerary of instructions told me I would need a few things for my journey, namely batteries and glue. I found them lying about my house, but would soon find a grave error in my preparations down the line. But for now, I was unaware of the rough journey ahead. I opened the box. Immediately, I was intimidated by the length of the instructions and the thousands of tiny pieces stuck within the wooden frames. Most of the instructions were thankfully picture-based and had some clarifying English text boxes. But the wires, the wires, they scared me. My first step was to check the wires, making sure the light bulb worked. I took a deep breath and did my best. The light was on. I could continue to the bookstore. My first hurdle was met by the second, building the grandfather clock. I had never built something that seemed so delicate. Lego bricks were much sturdier and could be thrown across the room without a second thought. Here, I felt as if I couldn't bend the wood at all without it shattering into my hands like glass and ruining the entire thing. I would later gain my confidence with the medium, but for now, every pop felt like a rabbit springing up from the ground to nip at my throat, Monty Python style. I resorted to keeping my X-Acto knife on hand for particularly difficult pieces, and to build my confidence in popping out the tiny pieces. Slowly but surely, a grandfather clock appeared out of 8 tiny pieces of wood. I had done it! My first ever miniature structure! If the rest of the kit was anything like this, I was sure to have a grand old time. I could simply walk to the Owl Bookstore, and the end looked bright. The miniature books nearly killed my excitement for the entire project. The stickers going over the small wooden blocks were easy enough and enjoyable. I love that I now have a small version of Dante's Inferno now displayed on my shelves. But the open books. The opened books. Folding something so tiny on glossy sticker paper should be made punishable by being placed in the stocks. My heart raced, my fingers fumbled. I felt as if this was some sort of Boromir warning me that one cannot simply walk to the Owl Bookstore. My journey would be fraught with much more difficulties to come. But I was enjoying myself, so I continued on and made a shelf to show off my creations. It was then I realized I had the completely wrong glue for this sort of craft. A glue stick made sense in the moment when I thought this would be made out of cardboard and paper, but nearly everything was made of a high-quality print on wood. I had to pause my journey and search my home for fast-drying superglue. Luckily, my father knew where such a rare commodity was in the house, and I did not need to venture outside the walls of my home to get the right materials. Unluckily, I was going to have to put the rest of the project together on mere scraps of glue. I prayed that the basically empty bottle would be enough for the rest of the build. Next was another shelf, this one having a variety of knickknacks upon it. I do end up forgetting a decorative piece, but I managed to find it near the end of my journey and snap it in place before I place it within the walls of the bookstore. The small radio, camera, book stand, and viola were standout pieces for me. I love how small and adorable they are. Definitely little souvenirs of joy on my little expedition to the Owl Bookstore. Dang, I almost called it the Owl House. That's wrong. I placed them on their respective shelves and went on to creating the grand bookshelf in the back of the store. This shelf gave me great worry as I created it, as the corner of the two shelves didn't match up perfectly. However, in the final result, you can't even see the gap, so it all works out in the end. I placed the owl plaque on the shelving, the likely namesake for this whole bookstore, and then move on to the clutter on the desk. Upon placing the lamp piece into its respective spot, the thin neck of the lamp splintered. The crack sent a shiver up my spine, and I stopped construction immediately. Luckily, it could be bent back into place, and no one would be the wiser had I not told everyone that I broke the neck of the lamp. However, I know, and there will forever be a faint line on the print of the lamp, showing my folly. Good thing it's in the back. The smallest crack had put the fear of miniature crafting in me, and my hands became steadier as I handled the rest of the pieces. I would not let any more mishaps happen again. It is here I have to admit something, my friends. Another mishap did happen. I was not able to capture my entire process of the making of the Owl Bookstore. My journey will be cut short here soon. I documented my expedition through my phone and, well, it died, and I did not catch it before it did so. I tried to salvage what I could, but with a full camera memory and the frustrating lack of scientists trying to figure out time travel, I'm afraid we'll just have to do with a sparse ending. Don't worry though, I made a better reveal at the end. After all, once we get to the destination, we have to take some pictures, right? For now, I will do my best to narrate what I was up to on my journey to the Owl Bookstore. I made some hanging framed pictures to hang in the front window, displaying the works of masters to reflect the literature found within. Then I installed the windows to the door and the window frames so no unwanted visitors could come inside and take our books. Book thieves are only fun to read about, never to deal with while in the bookstore. Then I assembled the front door and window display together. Next, placing the finished pieces on the floorboards of the bookstore. I believe it is around here that I tried to film once again with a full phone battery, but found that my phone could no longer hold any more video memory. A sad day to be sure, and one that I will fix upon our next adventure. For now, we will have to do with pictures of my process. After placing everything in, I assembled the east wall and stuck it into place. This wall had a corridor to place all our electronics in later. After that, I assembled the west wall with our knick-knack shelf, a hanging basket, and 2 framed art pieces, and set that into place. Then came the intimidation factor, the wiring. Despite having a picture guide of what to do and how the wire should lay, I really just tried to get it looking the best I could and assembled it in a way so that I could still trigger the on and off switch. I had no idea how it was supposed to lay so that I could trigger it, but it works in the end, so that's all that matters. No one will be looking up at the ceiling of the bookstore anyway. All the patrons will have their noses pressed into books, or possibly have motorcyclist helmets on their heads and be wandering around the bookstore hoping to bump into a book girl. No one will look up at the faulty wiring, it's fine, don't worry about it. Regardless, I moved on from electricity and put the roof into place, only doing a slight bit more electrician work as I hid the battery pack and extra length of wires behind the bookshelf. Then I put a crowning gold frame on the Mona Lisa and stuck the back wall onto the bookstore. With a little latch to make sure the door of the battery stayed closed, the bookstore was finally done. My journey finally over. I sat back to watch the lights give life to the tiny Owl Bookstore. Who's there? for coming to the Owl Bookstore with me. I hope you like this more story-driven telling of how I made this adorable little book Nook. Thanks again to my friend who sent it to me. I literally have cute aggression every time I see it on my shelf. It's adorable. If you like this video, please consider subscribing for more story-focused arts and crafts. I'd love to tell you another story and do a craft with you in the future, but you'll have to wait till next week for that. Right now, I'm going to the bookstore. I'll see you later!